From the sky, the world stretches in quiet wonder. Rooftops glimmer like scattered jewels, and mountains cradle towns as if keeping them in gentle embrace, while towers and spires rise like whispers of long-forgotten tales. Light moves slowly across stone and water, revealing details that seem almost unreal. Life flows in rhythms, subtle as tides, soft as mist, as if each city were a living story unfolding in silence. Somewhere between the pulse of human movement and the calm of nature, there lies a hint of magic, a sense that these places exist both in the real world and in the quiet dreams of imagination. This is a journey into man-made wonders, picturesque settlements, and landscapes touched by fairy tale magic. It's time for another journey through urban wonder. Wat Saffron rises from the plains, a monument shaped by imagination. Its pink tower wrapped in a dragon, whose spiraling form feels born from an ancient tale. Statues appear from lush gardens, surrounded by the sounds of tropical wind and distant birds. Built without fanfare, the temple feels like a secret, kept mostly by those who wander with curiosity. Wat Saffron holds a sense of mythic wonder, as belief and beauty intertwine. Lake Bled lies so still it seems almost spellbound, reflecting mountains as if holding a world within a world. Boats glide toward the island in slow, steady rhythms, their oars moving like wings across glass. Above, Bled Castle stands on its cliff like a watchtower from legend, its red rooftops glowing softly as the light changes. Bled is a landscape where reflection and quiet beauty meet with a touch of fairy tale wonder. Chef Choen descends the mountainside in shades of blue, giving the town a calm, otherworldly glow. Alleys deepen into indigo where shade gathers, then brighten into soft sky blue where sunlight touches the walls. Life moves gently through the Medina, footsteps echoing, cats weaving through stairways, shopkeepers opening doors to the cool morning light. The colors scatter the sun in shifting patterns, turning simple corners into moments of quiet charm. In Chef Cheven, the quiet streets seem to hum with a gentle magic, painted in shades of blue. The Lofoten Islands rise sharply from Arctic waters. Fishing villages nestle at the base of mountains, red cabins reflecting in calm inlets. The light here changes in long, poetic shifts, from pale winter blues to endless summer glow. The landscape feels otherworldly, especially when northern lights ripple across the sky in silent waves. Lofoten holds a quiet, rugged beauty, touched by the fleeting magic of polar light. Mont Saint-Michel rises from tidal flats like an island pulled from a medieval manuscript. Its spire reaches skyward, reflected in shifting waters below. Narrow streets wind upward, toward the abbey, where stone meets sky in quiet harmony. The tides move in dramatic cycles, surrounding and revealing the island with rhythmic grace. Mont Saint-Michel stands as a place between land and sea, touched by a whisper of sacred enchantment. Holstott appears between mountain and lake, like a quiet dream. A village that seems almost story-like when the morning mist drifts across the rooftops. Here life follows gentle rhythms, boats gliding as softly as turning pages. Reflections shifting with the patience of alpine seasons. Timber houses cling to the cliffs like they've grown from the rock. For over 7,000 years, salt from these mountains sustained a community that feels older than many legends. Halstead feels suspended in this valley, guarded by mountains. High in the mist, Chin Sui Cave's temple appears, as though the mountains are offering up a quiet, otherworldly sanctuary. Pagodas rise through drifting clouds, their bright tiers catching the morning light like lanterns in a soft legend. The temple's winding paths and carved statues seem to grow from the hillside itself, their quiet devotion lending the site a gentle serenity. Here above the valley, Chin Sui emerges, touched by mountain magic. Semioni stretches into Lake Garda, a narrow peninsula framed by shimmering blue on both sides. Here, Boats drift toward the shore in gentle cycles, as though guided by the lake's quiet spell. Beneath the peninsula, warm springs have bubbled since Roman days, adding a subtle sense of the extraordinary to this calm landscape. In Sirmione, history spills over into still waters. Lauterbrunnen rests in a valley so steep and green it feels like a cradle carved by glaciers. Waterfalls descend from towering cliffs in long, silvery threads, each one a reminder of nature's slow, sculpting hand. Clouds drift low between peaks, softening the sharp ridges into shapes that feel almost fairy-tale gentle. Chalets sit quietly in meadows where the sound of cowbells carries like wandering notes in the air. With 72 waterfalls surrounding the valley, the landscape seems in constant motion, each cascade a whisper of meltwater and mountain. Binjuang unfolds in layers of movement and color. Modern avenues, temples shaped with intricate detail, and rivers reflecting the quiet pulse of daily life. Pagodas rise gently above the landscape, their roofs curving like waves captured in mid-motion. Amid the city's growth, there remains a subtle sense of wonder in the balance between tradition and change. Binduong carries its future with ease, moving forward while holding a touch of cultural charm. Rising above a vast gorge, Puntunibo stands like a bridge from a forgotten tale, suspended between wind-carved cliffs. Shadows drift through the canyon beneath as the day passes, moving like slow tides. Built in the 18th century, the bridge unites the two halves of Runda, a pathway that feels almost symbolic, as if connecting distinct realms. Rhondda offers a landscape filled with old-world wonder. Sumela clings to a sheer cliff high in the Pontic Mountains, appearing suddenly between folds of rock and forest. As light moves across the mountains, Sumela seems to hover, a place where faith and nature meet with a brush of otherworldly calm. The landscape feels steeped in silence, broken only by the sound of distant streams. Mist drifts through the trees, wrapping the monastery in a quiet, protective veil. Sumela endures like a sanctuary, shaped by cliffs and clouds, touched by a trace of mountain mystery. Along the Spahn River, Haarlem rests in joy and color, a storybook town. The town unfolds along quiet canals and cobblestone streets, its historic buildings leaning gently over the flow of daily life. By the river, the windmill de Adrian turns with the patience of an old guardian, adding to the town's gentle, timeless charm. Haarlem moves with a quiet grace, a place where everyday life is touched by enchantment. Bogness Castle stands with graceful curves and pastel towers, rising like a storybook castle brought gently to life. Surrounded by parkland and warm stone pathways, it reflects in the stillness of a peaceful lake. The castle's silhouette against the sky feels soft and inviting, shaped by architectural dreams rather than fortification. Bogness Castle holds a quiet enchantment, as though touched by fairytale imagination. Positano clings to the cliffs of the Amalfi Coast, like a cascade of pastel colors. Houses step downward toward the sea in terraces shaped by centuries of adaptation. Lemon trees add brightness to the slopes, their scent carried on warm breezes. The town feels lightly enchanted, especially when evening light turns walls to rose gold. Positano feels like a landscape painted by sunlight, softened by a hint of coastal magic. In Sintra, palaces and stone walls emerge from the rolling fairytale hillside. The Moorish castle winds along the ridge like an ancient creature resting above the forest, watching over a vibrant city below. Sintra's microclimate nurtures lush greenery that moves softly in the Atlantic breeze, giving the mountains a sense of quiet. Sintra feels like a hillside kingdom, where a trace of forgotten magic still drifts through the trees. Gaudí's creations rise from Barcelona like imaginative creatures, shaped by nature and softened by light. Casa Batlló ripples like coral touched by sunlight. While the Sagrada Familia stands like a stone forest slowly reaching upward. Every curve follows a natural rhythm, giving each structure a sense of quiet, organic wonder. In Gaudí's Barcelona, architecture feels alive, carrying a subtle hint of imagination made real. Santorini rises from the Aegean like a crescent of light, white homes cascading down volcanic cliffs toward a deep, calm sea. Narrow paths curve gently between blue-domed roofs, each turn offering another glimpse of shimmering water. The island moves with the rhythm of sunlight and breeze, its colors shifting from bright morning tones to soft evening amber. There is a subtle mythic charm here, as if the island still remembers old tales of gods and oceans. Bolt Castle rises from Heart Island like a dream interrupted, a grand structure built from devotion. Its towers overlook the St. Lawrence River, reflecting soft ripples of morning light. Stone archways and overgrown gardens give the castle a quiet, storybook melancholy. Boats glide past with gentle curiosity, moving through channels dotted with small islands. Even restored, it carries the feeling of something paused, a fairy tale moment suspended just before its final page. Afrancaraza castle crowns a volcanic rock, rising abruptly from the city below. It stands like a sentinel carved from the earth itself, watching over the plains with a presence that feels almost mythic. Houses cluster around the base, their red roofs forming patterns. As the sun moves, shadows slide down the rock face in slow, deliberate motion. Climbing the steep path to the top feels like ascending through layers of time. Afrancaraza carries the quiet strength of a fortress touched by ancient legend. Edinburgh rises from volcanic ridges and rolling stone as though shaped by imagination and history working together. At its summit, Edinburgh Castle stands with the calm authority of a fortress from folklore, overlooking streets that weave down into the old town. The city moves in tides of footsteps, festival rhythms, and soft coastal winds. When mist rolls in from the further north, the entire skyline seems to drift into something quietly enchanted. Closes and alleyways branch like roots, each one holding its own small world of stories. Edinburgh holds its tales with dignity, a city where the past lingers like a gentle spell. The Taj Mahal stands with a stillness that feels almost unreal. Water mirrors the monument's symmetry, doubling its grace in calm reflection. A structure shaped from marble, light, and devotion. As the sun rises, the dome shifts from pale blue to warm gold, responding to the changing sky like a living form. The Taj Mahal remains a testament to love's quiet power. Kutnahora sits among rolling hills, shaped by its history of silver mining. Gothic churches and narrow lanes reflect the prosperity of an earlier age, their spires rising with quiet dignity. The Sedlic Ossuary stands as a unique reminder of mortality and artistry, its intricate bone arrangements creating a gentle, otherworldly stillness. Sunlight softens the town's stonework, blending past and present in warm tones. Kutnahora remains a place of reflection, carrying a subtle touch of mystical calm. Patuxi stands at the heart of Vientiane, like a serene gate between worlds. Its ornate arches rise in calm symmetry, reflecting Lao motifs shaped with gentle precision. From above, the monument looks like a lotus unfolding, a subtle touch of dreamlike symbolism in the city's center. Around it, gardens unfurl in soft colors, pathways connecting people in slow-moving currents. Traffic circles around it like a steady river, flowing with purpose yet softened by the monument's presence. Patuxi feels like a quiet emblem of peace, carrying a light sense of urban grace. Lodoc's villages cling to a moonscape of ridges and eroded cliffs. The monastery sits like a beacon above the village, its prayer flags fluttering in slow, rhythmic waves. Wind moves through the valley in long, echoing currents, carrying the scent of earth and altitude. The landscape feels almost otherworldly, shaped by time and silence rather than human hands. At dusk, the mountains glow in muted colors, as if illuminated from within. Kyoto moves at the rhythm of seasons, cherry blossoms drifting like pale snow. Wooden streets whisper with the footsteps of morning. Even the air feels patient here, settling into quiet spaces between shrines and riverbanks. Temples sit in pockets of stillness, their gardens shaped by centuries of care. Lanterns glow softly at dusk, giving each path a gentle fairy tale warmth. Kyoto holds a timeless serenity, touched by the faintest breath of ancient magic. Liechtenstein Castle rises from a rocky ledge with the poise of a storybook fortress. Its towers reaching toward the sky. The surrounding forest moves in gentle sways, leaves flickering in shifting light. Built in the 19th century, it captures the romantic imagination of an age inspired by medieval tales. Liechtenstein Castle holds the delicate charm of a place shaped by both stone and fairy tale dreams. Rolling hills stretch into the horizon like waves of green and gold. Small farms dot the landscape, each one sitting gently against the Andes' folded terrain. The region breathes in cycles of sun and shadow, mist rising from valleys in soft morning curls. Colonial towns appear like quiet punctuation marks across the countryside, their white facades and red roofs adding warmth to the highland air. There is a subtle fairy tale stillness to Boyaca, a sense of life moving at the natural pace of altitude and season. High in the Caucasus, Svaneti emerges from alpine slopes with a stark, noble beauty. Herders moving through meadows, clouds drifting slow and low across the range. Stone towers rise from villages like ancient guardians, watching over valleys carved by glaciers. Snow sits heavy on distant peaks, catching the light in soft, shifting hues. There is a quiet mythic aura to Svaneti, as though the mountains themselves cradle old stories. Huboka Castle rises from manicured gardens with elegant symmetry, its white facade glowing softly beneath the sky. Turrets, archways, and carved details give it the quiet grace of a Central European fairy tale. The entire estate feels perfectly balanced, cultivated, peaceful, and deeply serene. Surrounding trees sway in slow rhythm, framing the castle like pages of an illustrated story. Huboka Castle endures with refined beauty, touched by a whisper of storybook charm. Newfoundland's coastline stretches outward into the Atlantic with a rugged grace. Cliffs rise in heavy silhouettes, shaped by wind and weather into forms that feel ancient and enduring. Fishing villages sit where the land meets the sea, their brightly colored houses adding quiet warmth to the vastness around them. There's a stillness here that feels lightly otherworldly, like a place standing just beyond the edge of familiar maps. Newfoundland moves at the pace of wind and water, holding the faint echo of a maritime legend. The Rhine Valley stretches like a long, winding tapestry, woven from river light, vineyards, and ancient stone. Here, castles perch on hilltops as quietly as watchful birds, keeping their patient view over villages nestled below. Medieval towns appear and disappear along the water's edge, their timbered homes leaning together as if sharing secrets. There is a faint storybook calm to the valley, a landscape where history feels close enough to brush your shoulder. Osaka wakes with the energy of a vast living organism, trains gliding, lights shifting, crowds moving like tides through the city's heart. Yet, at its center stands Osaka Castle, rising from its stone foundation like a guardian from an ancient tale. Around the moat, trees sway in gentle rhythm, reflecting spring blossoms or autumn gold, depending on the season's mood. The castle's green rooftops shimmer against modern towers, their curves mirroring the slow movement of distant waves. The contrast is striking, a calm, enduring monument surrounded by the constant migration of city life.